Hello and welcome to another full beam tutorial. In today's video I'm going to show you how I turn an EDC pen from start to finish. So this is an EDC pen that I turned previously. You'll notice that only one section here has to be turned. Everything else is made up of hardware that all you have to do is install. Another style has two sections, like this slimline pen here, where the mechanical elements are here, here, and here, and they're two separate sections that have to be turned. The EDC pen that I'm turning has a click mechanism with a Parker T-ball jotter refill. So these parts come in a kit. The kit, you can see here, is a DuraClick EDC for everyday carry pen kit. In the kit you'll find the following components. There's the point here, and then the receiver that screws into. This is a tube that this is going to be pressed into. There's the refill, there's the end cap, there's the clip, and finally there's a button that you push in order to expose the point. This tube, this is a brass tube, a 7mm brass tube. I'm going to drill a hole in this 3/4 inch square blank. It needs to be about 3/4 of an inch in diameter, and I'll turn it down. So the next thing I'm going to do is to drill the hole in this blank. I'll do that on the lathe. So I'm now going to drill an 8mm hole in the pen blank so that I can insert the 8mm brass tube inside of it. Since my quill can only extend for 2 1/4 inches, I'll have to do this in multiple passes because the blank is about 3 inches long. So I'll turn it on and begin drilling. The drill is running at about 1,000 RPMs. Once I get to 2 inches, I'll turn the lathe off and then reset the quill and do the final drilling. I'll take the blank out of the chuck and insert the brass tube. Okay. Next step is to glue this in place using CA glue. So for that, I'll open the glue And I put the brass tube on a pencil so that I didn't have to get the glue on my fingers, and then spread that glue over the surface of the black tube, of the brass tube. Then I'll insert it into the blank. And there it is, inserted into the tube. So this is the blank with the brass tube glued in. You'll notice that on this end the brass tube is right at the edge, but on the other end it's not. The wood extends beyond it about maybe 3/16 of an inch. There are several things you can do to fix this. One of them is to use what's called a barrel trimmer. And the way this works is you put it on a variable speed drill, you insert it, turn the drill on, it spins around and trims as long as you keep pushing. I found this to be very slow, and in this particular case the drill bit is 7 millimeters, but the hole is 8 millimeters, so it can wobble around. And I can bush that out so that it's a tighter fit, but I came up with a better solution. And that is the jig that I made here. I took a piece of oak and I cut a slot in it with a 45-degree router bit. The piece of wood was originally twice as long as what you see now. I cut it in half and then put a hinge on it. So now I can place the pen blank that I want to trim in it, press down on it, and it's held firmly. And now I'm going to trim that with my chop saw. While not everybody has a chop saw, I do, and I decided that I would go ahead and use it. So I press firmly against the fence, and this happens to have a laser on it, so I know exactly where it's going to cut. I'm going to cut once, take a look, and then perhaps cut again. Okay, and you can see that I'm still a little bit short, so I'm going to trim it one more time. And there you have it. So here we have the trimmed blank. I'm going to put it on a special pen mandrel, and I'm going to use bushings. What this allows me to do is to cut to the proper depth for making the pen without any guesswork. I turn it until I hit the bushings and then I stop. So this is a 7mm shaft. The bushings are also 7mm. The brass tube, you'll remember, was 8mm. So the bushing expanded out to accommodate that. I'm going to put the knurled knob on, tighten that down good. And the length here is adjustable. If I had something longer or shorter, I could loosen these fittings here, and there's a collet in there. I could extend the shaft or shorten it. I'm now going to put this in the lathe, and I want to support it on the other end with a pointed live center. Okay, and now I'm ready to turn the blank. The only critical dimensions here are that the far end and the closer end are the same diameter as the bushing. Everything else is left to the artistic eye of the creator. You could make it thinner or thicker. If you make it too thin, you'll cut into the brass bushing or the brass tube, so you don't want to do that. But anything that's the diameter of the bushing or greater is fine. I'm going to start off relatively slowly and then increase the speed. You can see the stock is more or less round now. I'm going to trim both ends down to the bushing so that I have a good idea of the smallest amount that I can turn it down to. Okay, having trimmed both ends down to the bushing, whatever turning I do from here on out is for artistic purpose. It doesn't make any difference what shape it takes on. I'll turn it to suit myself. I prefer a fairly thin pen, so that's what I'm going for. It's fairly smooth now and more or less shaped the way I like. I'm going to finish it from here with sandpaper. I'll start with 80 grit. This is 80 grit. Then I'm moving to 120 grit. This is 180 grit. This is 240 grit. This is 320 grit. And finally, this is 400 grit. I'm going to take the piece out of the mandrel and polish it now. In order to get the mandrel out of the lathe, I'll use a knockout tool. And now I'll mount the buffing wheel. The buffing wheel is a series of 3 wheels actually, and on the first wheel I'm going to use something called a Tripoli polish. This is Tripoli polish. You'll notice that I turned down the speed of the lathe. And there's the result of the Tripoli polish. Next I'm going to use some white diamond. And finally, I'll use some carnauba wax. Okay, so there is the blank ready to have the hardware attached. So now we're going to actually assemble the pen. You can see the various parts on the table here. The brass tube that you see here is already inside of the wood that I turned. First thing I'm going to do is screw the point and the following piece together. Then I'm going to insert it into the blank. There are many ways that I can press this in, but a simple way to do it is with a pen press that's specifically designed for that purpose. So it's now first part pressed in. Next thing I'm going to do is put in the spring. This is a Parker T-ball jotter refill. I'll put that in. Then I've got a clip, put that in. I've got the following piece, I'll put that in, and then finally press it together. And the final thing is to screw in the button. And there you have it. The finished pen. Thank you for watching. I hope that you found the video to be informative.